If you're a kids yoga teacher and you'd really like to work more in schools, then I'm hoping that this video is going to be really useful to you, because I'm going to be talking all about packaging up your services so that schools and nurseries know what it is that you deliver and know how you can help them and understand that. So I'm Julia Hankins, I'm a kids yoga teacher, and I'm also a mentor for other kids yoga teachers. I help increase confidence and help the kids yoga teachers be more of themselves so that they can support children's well-being in lots of different ways. And so today I'm talking about kids yoga in schools and nurseries specifically now, because this is something that is really close to my heart as a previous school teacher. I know the mental health and well-being that is happening for children right now, and I know that yoga and well-being strategies are what they need, and I really believe that it should be in education more than it is, and so I like to support other kids yoga teachers to do the same. And so teaching wellbeing strategies in schools is really important to me and close to my heart, because as somebody who's struggled with my own mental health and wellbeing, if you've watched my other videos, I share quite openly about the fact that I have experienced anxiety for most of my life, and yoga and other strategies like it, like positive psychology strategies, have been something that have helped me personally, and so I really like to share those with children. And I think when you work in schools, you can work with children who you wouldn't necessarily have worked with, because they may not have come to your after school classes or community groups or community workshops that you offer, so you can reach a far wider group of children than you would have normally. I think now is a really good time to be reaching out to schools too, because we're approaching the last part of the school year. It's while I'm filming this, it's May, and actually we're heading close towards the spring bank holiday and the last half term of the school year, and so many schools are looking forward to next year and thinking about what are they going to offer, for what services they're going to offer, which outdoor providers are they going to employ for next year. So this is a really timely piece, and so yeah, if you would like to be reaching out to schools with packagings, watch on, because I'm going to be talking about that. So I think that it can be a real barrier for kids yoga teachers to know what it is that they're actually offering to schools. They know what they teach, but they can find it hard to kind of put that into a way of communicating clearly to schools. It's one of the things that I help people with in my mentoring, and I'm all about removing barriers, making life easier for kids yoga teachers, and so I like to support them so they can reach more children. And I wanted to talk about your yoga and mindfulness offers to schools. So the first thing I would say is think about, how do you want to work? It can be really tempting to just want to fit in with everybody and whatever you think is going to work, and answer yeah, of course, that's fine, I can do that, I can fit in with that, yeah, no problem, I can do that. And I definitely have had times in my business where I have committed to stuff that really didn't work very well for me or my family. And so just think about, instead of trying to fit into the timetable of other people and everyone else, have a think about what you want your life to work for. How do you want your life to look? How do you want your business to work for you? And how can that work for you and your family and the people that you have in your life? And what offers do you want to make? So it's taken me a while to figure out what works for me, and in recent months I've just discovered that I have ADHD and also autism, which explains an awful lot to me and explains why some ways of working haven't worked for me. And so personally, I've discovered that working in multiple settings in a day can be quite stressful for me, quite exhausting and quite draining, and so I limit myself to just 2 settings per day, unless it's like a one-off and I'm doing something special in the evening for, I don't know, say like a rainbows group or something, brownies or something like that, and it's a one-off. I generally will only work in 2 settings at most a day, but again, that's personal and that's what works for me. I'm not saying this is best practice, I'm saying figure out what works for you. And so yeah, moving around to lots of different settings, setting up my mats, packing them away, getting used to a different environment, that doesn't work for me. So that's one of my boundaries for me. Another thing that I set up for me is that I don't like bitty things like an hour here and an hour there. You know, I used to do an hour in a nursery and then lunchtime club at a school and then an afternoon, so you know, like all these little bits, bitty things doesn't really work for me, and that's what I've discovered. So what works for me personally is I only work for like half days or full days generally. I'll occasionally do an odd hour sometimes, but it's very rare. I usually just stick to a half day or a full day, and that's best for my nervous system, for me. But that, you know, those kind of practices of doing an hour here, an hour there may work for you. You may feel really kind of invigorated by that, and you may love the different environments. So just really tuning in and checking in with what do you love, what works really well for you, and then trying to be clear about that in your own mind. And then when you're clear about how you like to work, consider what options you want to offer. And so only offer what you actually want to deliver. I know this sounds really obvious, only offer what you want to deliver, but it wasn't obvious to me, and I was run ragged for the first couple of years of my business because I was like a lunch club and then a morning thing and then rush from one place to another, and then, not a lunch club, a before school club, then a morning classes, then rush from one place to another, then a school club, curriculum time, and then an after school club, and it was too much for me. And so now I don't do that anymore, but just only offer what works for you. So if you really enjoy lunch clubs and school clubs, brilliant, those are what you're going to offer. If you want to do curriculum classes, add that to your offerings. Currently, I don't offer extracurricular things because it's not the right time for me or my family, but it's definitely something I've done before and may do in the future. But I'm really considering what it is I want to offer, and I am only offering those things. I could be fully booked, I know, with after school clubs, but I don't want to be, and so I don't offer it anymore. We can feel really pressured to take on work that doesn't really feel aligned for us and our lives, but we're thinking in terms of like fear-based, really, you know, like, oh well, I don't know if I'll get something else in, and actually this is money, so I have to take it. But when we do that, when we say yes to things we don't want to do, we're saying no to things that we do want to do, and we're kind of closing that door on other opportunities. And so saying no to things that you don't want to do opens up space to welcome in what you do want to do. So have a think about what you'd like to do, what offers you want to offer, and put those together as things that you offer. And that will be easier for your creating your packages. So when you're creating your packages, it can be really nice to bundle things together. So this can really support schools because you can make it, and nurseries, because it can make it more financially viable for them. So bundling things together could be bundling together multiple classes, or bundling together like a series of classes. It could be bundling together offerings on the same day. So it used to work really well for me, it doesn't anymore, but it used to work really well for me to do a lunchtime club, an afternoon, it's actually multiple lunchtime clubs. So I used to do a Key Stage 1 one and a Key Stage 2 one in a school. And then I used to teach the after school classes. No, not after school classes, curriculum classes. So I used to teach 2 lunchtime clubs and then 2 afternoon classes in curriculum time. And that bundle worked really well for me. And I was able to offer a slightly discounted rate for those lunchtime clubs because I was already there and I didn't have to like factor in travel time and things like that. And so that was a real benefit for the school, and that incentivized them to have me because it meant that they were offering things to their parents, you know, for these lunchtime clubs. So that can work really well, bundling things together. And you can offer discounts. So also the reverse of that can work. So if a school has asked you to do an after school club, for example, then you could say, yeah, I'd love to do an after school club for you, and because I'm already with you, I can offer you a discounted rate for some curriculum classes. And schools can be like, oh, I didn't realise that, I haven't thought about that. And then you can enter into a conversation with them about how your curriculum classes may fit into their curriculum, so their PE curriculum or their PSHE curriculum, for example. So if you teach adults also, you may want to consider whether you can add on an adult session. So maybe a yoga session or mindfulness session or relaxation session, either each time you go in or even once a month, something like that. It's worth bundling your offers together and being a little bit more flexible about how you work. So something to consider is not to overwhelm. So we can be, me personally, I'm like, oh, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. Yeah, I've got like all these different ideas, loads and loads of lovely ideas that I could do. And actually that just causes overwhelm. And so trying to limit what you offer to maybe 3 things, instead of saying like, look at all the amazing things I can do, limit them to 3 things, around about 3 things, because a confused brain says no. And so if you're confusing the people who work at the school or nursery with all these different options, they'll check out and they won't be able to think about it because it'd be too much. So limiting it, and then but making it clear that these are just suggestions and that you can be flexible to suit their individual needs. So another thing that I really love to do is when I'm pricing my packages, I price them on a sliding scale. So I talked more about pricing last week, so check that video out or that blog out. It's about something like pricing your yoga classes and workshops, something like that. But when I am pricing for a school, I use a sliding scale, which means I charge different amounts depending on what I'm offering. And so I really love working with schools on longer contracts. That works for me, for my own kind of sense of security and stability and knowing that I've got an income coming in. So the schools that I work in, they're on annual contracts actually, and I really, really enjoy working in that way. I feel like I'm part of the school community. The children know me, they know when to expect me. We've got a list of dates that I work for them, and it feels really good for me to work like that. I'm not saying that's the goal, that we should all be doing that. I'm just saying for me, I really love an annual contract. I also offer, I offer annual contracts, I offer termly contracts, half-term contracts, and then like one-off. And so the pricing is pitched for that. So my most expensive fees that I charge are my one-off bookings, and that's because it's just a one-off. I'm going to have to do a lot of thinking and a lot of processing to figure stuff out for that school. It's going to be like, okay, where are they based? I've got to figure out how to get there. I don't know the children, so I'm not like set up in that way. And so my most expensive rate is for that one-off booking. And then when I'm working in a school for like a half-term booking, that's slightly cheaper. If I'm working for a term in a school, that's cheaper still. And my cheapest day rate is reserved for the schools that have booked me on an annual contract. And that's to incentivize them to book me for that longer period of time. But it's also to reward them for doing so. It's like, thanks, you value me, you want to work with me, and so I'm going to value you. And so they get my cheapest prices because they're booking me on a long-term thing, and it's actually about half price what I would charge for a one-off booking. So it's definitely worthwhile, and I share that with them. It's made very explicit that they are getting a discount because they're booking me for this long time. So that's packaging things up, packaging up my classes for them. So last week I talked all about pricing my services and pricing your services, so check that out if that's something you're interested in. If you're finding bundling up your services together and pricing them really overwhelming for you and a bit confusing, then why not contact me and see if you'd like to work with me. We could do a one-off session of just an hour, or we could do a series of sessions. And also on that note, I'm going to be increasing my own prices really soon. So if you've been considering working with me as your mentor, then now is the perfect time to do it, because currently my mentor prices are way too low, and they're not representative of the amount of time and energy that I put into them. So if you would like to work with me as your mentor, email me now and book in a no obligation conversation with me, and I will just share with you how we work. And if that's something that's interesting to you and you would like to do, then we can pursue that. If it's not for you, then that's fine too. I'm not in the business of trying to work with people who don't want to work with me. So email me, julia@juliahankins.co.uk, to find out if working with me is for you. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, please like and subscribe. I'd really love to know what your takeaways are from this video. If you found it helpful, please comment. That helps me to know what's useful to you. And if there's something you'd like me to talk about in future videos, comment below or send me an email and I'll try and get that sorted for you. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.